Now, I'm not sure that Freddie's actually talking about a bicycle in this song, but guess it sounds good when there's shoulder pressing. Bicycle race, next on Crown Jewels. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to PLD Projects, or welcome to PLD Projects. This is Crown Jewels, and I'm your host, PLD. And if this is your first time here, you've come midstream on a journey. A long journey started a long time ago, not quite in a galaxy far, far away in this galaxy, but a journey I'm taking you on through the entirety of the Queen catalog, including solo projects, as we strive to find the best version or crown jewel of each song and find out what song we're going to put in our ultimate Queen playlist. Even we go even beyond that. We try to figure out which songs hit my top 10 Queen songs, Queen related songs of all time. And I mean me, really. Basically, it's me, and you can argue with me in any kind of comments you want. I'm always open for discussion that way. As far as this thing goes, it's all me, baby. All right, let's talk about this week's effort, Bicycle Race, written by the great Freddie Mercury. Features Freddie on lead and backing vocals, piano, and bicycle bells. Brian Mann, guitar, backing vocals, bicycle bells. John Deacon, bass guitar, and bicycle bells. Roger Taylor on drums, backing vocals, and you guessed it, bicycle bells. Let's find out how many different versions do we have to listen to today to figure out what the best version of the song is. Let's list them. We got the studio version, of course, from 1978, the jazz album. We have the Columbia long version, which I'll describe a little bit later on. We have the 1991 Hollywood remix by Junior Vasquez. We have the 2011 instrumental mix, and we have two live versions, one officially released on the Live Killers album, and then an unreleased effort, Queen and Adam Lambert, live from Philadelphia from 2023. Well, now before we start listening to them, give you a little background here. If you listened to the Fat Bottom Girls episode, this was released as a double A side with Fat Bottom Girls. So technically, October 1978, it hit number 24 in the US and hit number 11 in the UK. It also hit number 21 in the Austrian charts, number 7 in the Dutch charts, 7 in the French charts, 27 in Germany's charts, 10 in Ireland's charts, and Norway hit number 7. A lot of sevens there. Anyway, this was a song that was not played live very much. It played like in 78 through May of 1979 as a part of the Queen medley, the famous Queen medley, where they would throw 3 or 4 of their songs in together towards the beginning of the concert to kind of get through some of the hits or some of the things they didn't want to do full on out. Basically was retired after that until it was brought back by Queen and Adam Lambert and was played actually on the more recent tours. So that was definitely a long time in between, but they did get it back on. And also in the somewhat more recently era, Eminem sampled it for "Come On, Let Me Ride" by Skylar Grey. So that might be where you hear some of this song before. Basically, it was a very interesting song. Freddie saw the Tour de France go by while he was in a hotel in Switzerland and was just gobsmacked by it, very inspired, and this kind of came out. Although some will let you know it was also a thinly veiled reference to what Freddie wanted to do all day. Not ride his bicycle necessarily, because he never had a bicycle. But but then again, what Brian would say that this character that Freddie is singing on is a very non-autobiographical character. This is a character created for the song itself. But I think you'll understand the idea if you ever watch the video. The video is definitely one of their most controversial. Band hired a bunch, about 100, I believe, naked ladies to drive a bike to have a bicycle race in Wimbledon. They rode other tracks on their bikes, fully naked for the video. The video kind of blurred things out here and there, but it also became the subject of a poster, which came with the album. That poster was often banned, and there was controversy there. Absolutely, I know I mentioned before that Brian used to say that Fat Bottom Girls got into trouble. Bicycle Race actually got them even more into trouble, although the songs are interlinked. Even lyrically, Freddie actually mentions Fat Bottom Girls in this song. Um, the funniest anecdote I think about the video is the fact they rented all these bicycles out for this race that they were going to do for their video. And when the bicycle company heard about the extravaganza, they did make the band pay for all the bicycle seats. Yeah, well, Well, before we get into listening, there's some notes and quotes about the song. So it's both from Brian May. The first one, Brian May in the year 2000, said Freddie wrote in strange keys. Most guitar bands play in A or E, probably D and G. But beyond that, there's not much. Most of our stuff, particularly Freddie's song, was in oddball keys that his fingers naturally seem to go to: E flat, F, A flat. The last things you want to be playing on a guitar. So as a guitarist, you're forced to find new chords. Freddie's songs were so rich in chord structures, you always found yourself making strange shapes with your fingers. Songs like Bicycle Race have a billion chords in them. Later on, 2011, he wrote on his website, "Did you ever read Moby Dick? I always remember the first words were 'Call me Ishmael.' But of course, Herman Melville wasn't Ishmael. As with a novel, just because a song is written in the first person doesn't mean it's in any way autobiographical. As I remember, Freddie liked Star Wars a lot, and he actually wasn't very keen on riding his bicycle if he even had one. He preferred being driven in a Rolls Royce. But he created a character for the song. This character can say what he wants, and he can ride his bicycle wherever he likes." Of course, that being lyrically the content, Freddie brought a lot of different cultural things at the time, and he stated at one point, famously lyrically, that he didn't like Star Wars. So not sure, but he also brought up a lot of different things: Vietnam War, cocaine, Watergate, Peter Pan, Superman, Frankenstein, Jaws. Yeah, a lot of different cultural references at the time. But according to Brian May, Freddie actually was a fan of Star Wars. Oh, thank God, because that'd be very difficult for me to reconcile. Like two of my favorite things of all time, it'd be very bad. In fact, there are pictures out there of Freddie on tour in the early 80s, I believe, where he would come out on the shoulders of a roadie who was dressed as Darth Vader. Also Superman at times, but Darth Vader for sure. So put it aside, Freddie definitely liked Star Wars. All right, let's move on to actually listening to the versions and we can talk about them. How do we do that? Well, I don't want to get a strike. So, what we do is in the show notes, I will put a link to a Google Doc. On that Google Doc are links to all YouTube versions of all the songs we're going to listen to. So, when I get to that point in this podcast, I'll have you hit pause, go watch or listen to that version on YouTube, and then come back and, well, you hear me talk about it. All right, let's go to the first one there, the album version, the studio version from 1978 Jazz. This is Bicycle Race. Come back for more. Bicycle, bicycle, bicycle. All right, there you have it. That is the studio version. Big vocal opening, and then into almost feels like a children's song, at least instrumentally speaking, as far as the sound goes. Not lyrically, but bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle. It's very camp, but also very childlike, very silly and fun. I guess in a way, I would call it like the Queen used to do these vaudeville, especially Freddie used to do these vaudeville type numbers. This is like kind of the latest in the lines of that. Not quite that style, but similar in terms of the piano showman kind of fun type of jaunty sing along. It's definitely kind of the latest in that progression to a degree. Freddie throwing a lot of different things in there, a little bit of rap type vocal in the middle there, with some great piano trills, of course. I believe the middle section is probably the most Queen-like, has the most sounds, the most like typical Queen, if there is typical Queen. But there's a very unusual chord progression, numerous like switches and back and forth. We got to change the tempo at one point when it goes from 4/4 to 3/4, the bridge. Driving that rhythm kind of kept increasing as it goes on until that slow section, and we get a bicycle bell solo in the middle, stops everything dead, before Brian kind of kicks back in there with this great sonic, atmospheric guitar run, like on the right side, the left side, the middle, all over the sonic atmosphere. That's why I've said it before, said it a million times. I'll say it one more time. Listen to the Queen on your headphones. It's a religious experience, really, getting to hear all the different areas they play with. It's a very fun, jaunty song. It's definitely silly, as only Freddie could do. I think if you ever had to listen to a song, go, who wrote this one? I don't think any other member of Queen wrote Bicycle Race except for Freddie Mercury. So yeah, all right, that's the studio version. Let me know what you think about that. I don't know where it's going to fit into our crown jewel selection. Got a lot more to go through. Let's move on to our next version. This is kind of a curious version, a strange version. Bicycle Race got a couple of different weird promos. We're only going to listen to one of them, although there are two that I should bring up. The one I'm not going to bring up, or not going to listen to, I'm not going to count, mainly because they're similar. They have similar things going on between this one and the other one, but this is really not much different. The one we're not going to listen to is there's a rare United States 12-inch vinyl promo of Fat Bottom Girls Bicycle Race. Now I mentioned before there are double A sides. Now what this promo did on side A, did Fat Bottom Girls and Bicycle Race. On side B, it was Bicycle Race and Fat Bottom Girls. On the A side, you played the Fat Bottom Girls single edit, but just cut off the last few seconds and then Bicycle Race played. So not really much different. The other side, Bicycle Race played at first. They cut off the last few seconds and then it went to the Fat Bottom Girls single edit. So really, I didn't think of it as that much. It's not different enough to really consider a different version. They just cut off a few seconds. So there's that promo. Now, this promo is what we call it's the Columbia long version. There's a Columbia 12-inch vinyl of Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Song obviously we haven't gotten to yet. It's on the 1980 album The Game. And on this 12-inch vinyl, Bicycle Race was played as the B-side of the vinyl. And it was a very kind of weird extended edition. Listen to it, and then we'll come back and we will talk about it. Bicycle, bicycle. Okay, so you caught it, right? Basically, there's not a whole lot of difference. The vinyls are crackly because this is all the version I can get. Basically, it's a same song, all the way up until the solo bicycle bells. And instead of continuing the song just starts over and then goes all the way through. I don't like that's one of the weirdest extended versions I've ever seen. Doesn't really even try to mask that. That's all it is. It just kind of like stops, starts over. Doesn't even stop, but it kind of like just stop progression of the song and starts over and plays the entire song. So yeah, there you go. I don't know, but I had to play it for you guys. It's definitely an interesting curio, if nothing else. So, all right, let's move on then. The next version we're going to listen to, 1991, Hollywood Records purchased the Queen catalog and was re-releasing everything on CD with some bonus tracks. And instead of diving too much deep into the archives, unfortunately, and again, I never knew if this was Hollywood's fault or if this was Queen's fault or what was going on. Either Queen was being stingy with her vault or Hollywood just wanted to try to modernize for their audience. I don't know. A lot of the times you get some bonus tracks, but some of the bonus tracks would be these 1991 remixes, usually from dance or hip hop or rap type of remixes, which I don't see why that would be appealing to the fan base of Queen necessarily. Nothing against it, but it just doesn't seem like the demographics will work as well as you would think. Like you'd want a more of a rock remix. Maybe you want to try something different. Hey, some of them came out pretty good, I gotta say. I'll even say that. This one is by Junior Vasquez. We'll listen to it and then we'll come back and talk about it. And there you have it, Junior Vasquez. Basically, it's a dancey hip hop mix of the track. It does feature that backbeat, a lot of effects on it, a lot of loops on it. It's kind of one of the more odder remixes they've done, I feel. Interesting. The bicycle race or bike ringer solo, the bike bell solo, has been replaced with the vocal loop with the piano. Had some interesting bass runs in the beginning. Again, a bunch of the effects in the background. There's times in the song where they kind of cut away from itself, which is or cut down the effects and then get more of the heart of the song. That's always the better part of the remix for me. Because it kind of like I feel like it gets in its own way sometimes with all the effects and all the loops and all the things that it's got going on. I know you're trying to remix it, make it your own, make it different, but it almost like it just covers up everything and becomes too, chaotic's the right word. It just becomes just too much. There's just too much going on. When it cuts that back just enough, and you have the kind of BC line and the guitar part in there, it's different song completely. It still sounds a very different song, but it fits better. I will say, if you're going to do a hip hop version of a song, this might be one to do it. Freddie does have that kind of rappy, have some rap lyrics and type of lyrics in the middle there. I mean, not that Freddie's a rapper at all, but it's more spoken, more attack there than vocals. It fits the mix. It fits the mix, I guess. It's not awful. It's not awful. It's fun for the dance business. I mean, it's definitely has some moments that are definitely exciting and fun. And in the club, it'd be nice. But and it's definitely a completely different version of the song than the band had intended. Your miles may vary. I actually have some fun with this one. This is one of the ones I actually have a little more fun with because it doesn't get too repetitive. A lot of times, some of these remixes will go on for like 6, 7 minutes, and it's like kind of like starts repeating stuff and things of that nature. This kind of does what it does. It revamps it and takes it away and adds new items, but kind of just gets to the heart of things and goes through it. So it's not bad. It's not awful. I will say, especially if you're into a dancey or hip hop versions of stuff, this might be right up your alley. Um, all right, let's move on next to the 2011 mix. In 2011, Island had gotten the Queen contract, and they had released the CDs as extended editions or expanded editions, I should say, with a bonus EP of sorts of usually 5 or 6 bonus tracks. And these bonus tracks were a little bit better than the 1991 ones. We did get some things, although some things were very easily gotten before. But some of the things they did, Queen was a little filler too. They did these like instrumental mixes, or they just do track mixes like they did the I'm in Love with My Guitar with guitar and vocals and basically strip things down. Although sometimes you get a little something pretty cool. So let's take a listen and see if that's the case here. The 2011 instrumental mix. Come back, take a listen to it, and come back for more. There you go, Accountant by Freddie, followed by the piano and some basic drumming. And then out of the way, there's no vocals at all, no lead vocals, no backing vocals. Sometimes they've had instrumental mixes which have the backing vocals in it. It's got pretty much everything. Everything's really tight and crisp sounding. And I really feel like this is a case where without the vocals, you get to hear a lot more going on in the background than you would think. And this rhythmic section, specifically, there's a lot of like really interesting rhythm going on there, especially during the verses. It's like a in, out, then slam, and then it gets silent. It's like a boom, bah, bah, boom, ah. And I'm not doing justice to it at all. But it's a really crisp, tight, kind of thunderous, kind of rhythmic thing, and it really sounds amazing here. To be honest with you, it's not something you really quite hear when you have Freddie's vocals going on, especially with the silly lyrics. Nothing against vocals. I can never say anything bad about Freddie's vocals, but I just heard a lot going on here that I didn't hear before. So I thought this was, even if this was kind of a fillery kind of session, we could have dove really into the vaults, as they did a little bit better on the News of the World box set, where we got a lot more. At least we got a full CD of like raw versions and different takes of versions. This is definitely like well, you're going to do a 2011 remix as a bonus track. Give me some more, give me a Bicycle Race earlier version or something like that. But sometimes we do get a little bit of gems, and this is one of the good ones, I think. So, all right, we're going to move on to the live versions. We have two. One was officially released in Live Killers on the very first Queen live album, and then of course Queen and Adam Lambert. So first up, though, Live Killers. Let's go take a listen and come back for more. All right, there you have it. Before we go any further, I'm going to discuss Live Killers a minute. If you're a fan of the show, been listening for a while, you've probably heard this shtick before. But I have to do in case you're new. Live Killers was the first live album released by the band. It was definitely an interesting case of, instead of not only was it not a full concert, it was all taken from the Live Killers tour, which is not that big of a deal. They even like sliced up the songs themselves. There's times where like you would have half a song from Barcelona, then the other half from Frankfurt, and part of it from Paris, and they'd actually Frankenstein songs together like that. I'm not sure why that was the case. It's kind of a weird thing, and they did a lot of work there. They probably should do. I think it would be much easier to take the best version and clean up a little bit if you needed to. I know the band's not very happy with the mix as well. So it's kind of that weird case. It's language has never been reissued. Did not get the reissue in 2011. It did not. So it's not really had any remastering really done for quite a while now. And people have been clamoring it for a while. There's been rumors that there might be a Live Killers box set at some point, which would be a chance for the band to really get a chance to dive deep and maybe do it right the first time. Although, with that being said, I mean, I make it sound like it's a disaster. A lot of fans love Live Killers, and Live Killers is one of their favorite live albums, especially because of the set list at the time. And the performances are solid. They're great performances, even if they are kind of strangely intertwined at times. My friend Bob at queenlive.ca, he did a very strong analysis of. He took basically bootleg versions of that tour to match up what fit from Live Killers and what wasn't. Um, and it's a great website. Like I said, queenlive.ca, a wonderful resource for anything from Queen Live during the Freddie Mercury era. He does say that Bicycle Race was pretty much all from Frankfurt, February 2nd, 1979, just the last second. If it's a 1 minute and 29-second song, 0 to 128 was Frankfurt before they switched on to Zurich before sliding into I'm in Love with My Car from Zurich. So not sliced up here, so that's good to know before you get any further. Well, so the song itself, it's an edited version of it. We start off with the piano instead of the vocals. No bicycle part in the beginning. It's just right into the piano section. And in fact, there's not many backing vocals throughout this. Really, only backing vocals come in for the middle eight section, that the little shift in tempo. Then we get to hear Roger quite well, and I'm glad to hear Roger and backing vocals. Always makes it's a secret sauce for Queen, as far as I'm concerned. The growl really backs up Freddie. But for the most part, there's no other backing vocals. The bicycle, even the choruses were big bicycle, bicycle, I want is none of that, just the Freddie singing it. Um, Throughout all of it, only that little small section has the backing vocals into it. It is, like I said, part of a medley. It goes from Killer Queen into this. It starts out, like I said, with that, just with the piano bit, and it goes all the way up into where the bike bells would be about to start, and then it just shifts out and goes right into "I Love My Car." So none of the instrumental section from Brian at the end there, unfortunately. Tempo is up a lot in this. I feel like the tempo, it just feels like it's being driven more, and I kind of feel it's a little bit to the detriment of the song. Not a lot of time to breathe, not a lot of time to really get into those fancy rhythms. But all in all, it's still kind of fun. I bet you this would probably be fun to have seen Freddie do on stage, for sure. It's definitely kind of a campy showman kind of song. So, all right, that's it for this version, Live Killers. Let's move on to our final version, Queen Adam Lambert, live in Philadelphia 2023. There's a YouTube link in that show doc for a bootleg version, a fan taping version. So you got to leave that in mind. This is not any of the Queen Adam Lambert official releases. But yeah, I'm going to listen to it and we'll come back and we will talk about it. I want to ride my bicycle. And there you have it. The medley that starts with I'm in Love with My Car, or at least goes from I'm in Love with My Car into Bicycle Race. That's what you hear in the first part of the video, the end of the previous song. The difference is here, the band actually does more this time around than they did with Freddie back in the day. It actually starts with Bicycle Bells, and the band actually sings the back vocals. We do get the bicycle, bicycle, as Adam gets on his set piece, his prop piece. It was part of the Queen Adam Lambert tour. Adam likes to use big bikes, big lounge chairs, big props. He is a very showy person, very showy for sure, much more theatrical as far as like Broadway theatrical as far as that goes. And he does dramatize this one a lot. He definitely milks it for all it's worth, draws it out. They do fuller version, they'll do more of the verses. They do skip also to the middle eight section, and then on the on your mark and get set, go, it stops and it goes into Fat Bottom Girls. Band does a good job. They're tight. They're pretty tight here at this point. The tempo is a little bit better, especially because it has to accommodate Adams milking it a bit, to say the least. But it's a very fun version, and Adam's fun to watch. So it definitely, I'm sure, was great for the audience, and as you could see. But overall, yeah, it's a different version live, different version live than the band did with Freddie. So it's definitely good to hear an alternate take. And you know what? If we're going to do Queen Adam Lambert here in 2023, we might as well get different takes rather than trying to have Adam copy Freddie. That I'll always, even if I like Freddie's version better, which I do most of the time, I'd rather hear Adam do himself rather than trying to be Freddie. So, all right, that will do it for all the versions we're going to listen to. Next up, we have to rank and rate this now to figure out which is the crown jewel. All right, it is time to go from least to best. The best being, of course, my pick for the crown jewel version of Bicycle Race. Last on the list, it's the Colombian long version. It's, again, interesting curio, but not something I'm going to play all the time. In fact, like a song that is not amongst my favorite Queen songs. We'll get into that a little bit more during the next section. But I don't want to play half of it, then start it over and play the full, no, it's just not what I want to do for this. So my least favorite goes to the Colombian long version. From there, live in Philadelphia, Queen Adam Lambert. It's not necessarily my cup of tea. I get why people would like it, especially some of the Adam Lambert fans. I totally understand that, and more power to them. I'm happy they're enjoying it. To me, this is a little bit more Broadway theatrical than it needs to be, a little more drawn out, and I feel like it loses a little bit of the instrumental punch that the studio version has. Um, and yeah, it's just not as there for me. Interesting enough, yes, that means actually, I don't know if that hit your vote yet though. I put the 1991 hip hop mix above the live in Philadelphia 2023 version. I do. I have fun with it. I don't know why. It's still again pretty low. It's got a bunch of the other ones up on top of it here, and I'm not a fan of what Hollywood did overall as far as that. I'd still again much rather have had some kind of deeper content. Even like single versions or edited versions are much better choices for me. But at the same time, it's a swing, and I have fun with it. I gotta say, I think there's just some stuff I would change out of it. I'd probably strip it back a little bit, but it's fun. It's fun. Yeah, I get if you hate it. Totally get it. Totally get it. If you're like, this is not what I want to listen to. Totally get it. From there, the live killers version for me, and I'm gonna be honest here. I almost had to put the Hollywood remix above this. And it's nothing against this version, but it is edited down. It's only a minute plus. Not the greatest version here and there. Some of the backing vocals aren't there. One of those kind of times where it happened with Queen, especially in the early era. They chose some songs where they just decided not to do the backing vocals on. They just kind of let it play. It always seemed kind of a little bit weird and a little less full just to have Freddie's lead vocal doing it. Not necessarily bad, but strange. All right, next up we have two left, only two left. So which is it? Is the album version or the 2011 instrumental mix? I think I'm going to surprise some people. My crown jewel is the 2011 instrumental mix. I know. It's I was decrying them before for these kind of like filler mixes that the band or that the band did for the expanded editions, and I'm putting it above the album version. I'm putting a version with no Freddie vocals over a version with Freddie vocals, and that's because I just found it fascinating. And I feel like you get to hear what Brian was talking about as far as billion chords and the different modulations, the different rhythmic sections, and how difficult the track was behind Freddie's vocals. I think Freddie's silliness and like campiness, while always entertaining, while always never a bad thing, it does kind of sometimes overmask a really intense instrumental song in a way. Um, your miles may vary. I totally get it. But I think the crown jewel, the best version to listen to for me is the 2011 instrumental mix. Hey, it is what it is, my friends. Let me know in the comments section that I'm wrong. That's fine. I'm always happy to hear why. Um, yeah, so all right, next up, let's rate the song on a scale of 1 to 11 because we always track things here, turn things up to 11 here on PLD Projects and see if it slides into my top 10. I kind of gave you a spoiler alert earlier. It's not going to fit in my top 10. I'm going to give this song a solid, you might kill me for this, but it's a 6. 6. 6 out of 11. It's not my favorite song. I don't know why. It's weird. I can't even explain it because I love the eccentric side of Queen. I love when Freddie goes off and does these vaudevillian type things, and it's very campy because it's so uniquely Queen. You don't see AC/DC ever doing something like this. You don't see, Led Zeppelin ever doing something quite like this. It's just it's hard to explain why. It really is hard to explain why. Everything's there that should be even more for me. But at the end of the day, I feel like turning up against other Queen songs is not one I usually choose. I don't skip it necessarily. I was happy to hear it when Queen Adam Lambert brought it back. I'm kind of, oh, that's cool. Nice to hear something new, old, or whatever. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's gonna be a 6. So nowhere near the top 10 there. So all right, that's going to do it for us this week, folks, on Crown and Jewels. Next week, the John Deacon song, If You Can't Beat Them. It's an interesting track. I think you might like this one a little more straightforward, as John's tracks tend to be. He doesn't write many, but he does write bangers. He's good for writing catchy pop tunes for sure. This is definitely one of those pop rock songs that are in that vein. So come back for that for sure. And like I said, it's your first time here, to subscribe, hit that like. If you're listening on the audio feed, we are moving things over to the new audio feed. Everything's still on the PLD Projects network feed at this point, but eventually when I catch up and migrate all the old episodes over to the new Crown Jewels feed, everything will be on Crown Jewels from that moment on. But don't worry, I'll let you guys know. But hey, if you want to start supporting and clicking sub to that feed as well, you're getting daily content of the old stuff. The old episodes being migrated over. That's what there'll be. But if you want to help even further, we do have a patreon.com/PLD Projects. Stalwart says Brandon Buckingham, Austin Goodell, Jeff Alterman, a lot of great people over there. We do some extra content on Patreon, have a great Facebook chat going, some hangouts, and a lot of cool things going on. But if you can't, totally get it. Totally get it. Like I said, the best way to support is share it with your friends, get it out there, and comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. All right, we will see you next week. Until next time, keep yourself alive. God save the Queen. Get on those bicycles and ride with those fat bottom girls.